Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. Databricks, episode 13 of 15. Training a machine learning model is the fun part, but deploying it as a highly available, secure REST API is where most data science projects go to die. Moving from a notebook experiment to a production-ready endpoint requires configuring scaling, load balancing, and strict governance. To solve this, you use Mosaic AI Model Serving. This feature provides a unified interface to deploy, govern, and query AI models. A common misconception is that Databricks model serving is only for models you train yourself inside Databricks. That is incorrect. It actually acts as a central AI gateway. It handles three distinct types of models: custom models, foundation models, and external models. First, custom models. These are the models you build, log with MLflow, and register in Unity Catalog. Model serving provisions a serverless container, loads your model dependencies, and exposes the model as a REST API. You do not manage the infrastructure. It scales up when traffic spikes and scales down to zero when idle. Second, Databricks-hosted foundation models. These are large open-source models that Databricks hosts on optimized compute. You get instant access to state-of-the-art architectures without worrying about GPU provisioning. Third, external models. This is where you configure endpoints that point to third-party services. Why route external traffic through Databricks instead of calling external providers directly? Think about governance and cost control. Suppose your company wants to use GPT-4 for an internal application. If every developer hard codes an API key in their script, you lose visibility. You cannot strictly monitor costs, manage rate limits, or apply filters to prevent employees from sending sensitive customer data to an external provider. By routing all requests through Mosaic AI Model Serving, you force that traffic through a single secure gateway. You manage one set of credentials. You apply access controls through Unity Catalog, dictating exactly who or what can query the model. You also get centralized tracking of usage, errors, and latency. The logic flow is straightforward. You define a serving endpoint in Databricks. For a custom model, you point the endpoint to a registered MLflow model and define the compute size and scaling limits. Databricks handles the containerization automatically. For an external model, you provide the external provider name and a securely stored API key. Once the endpoint is active, your downstream applications send a standard JSON payload via an HTTP request to the endpoint URL. The response comes back in a consistent format, regardless of whether the model is running on Databricks serverless compute or sitting in an external data center. Here is the key insight. Mosaic AI Model Serving removes the friction of deployment while enforcing security. It standardizes your application layer so your client code only ever talks to a single Databricks endpoint, completely abstracted from where or how the underlying model is hosted. By the way, if you want to help support the show, you can search for DevStories EU on Patreon. That's all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.